Okay, so in the last video I talked about relentlessness and being relentlessness in our work, in our pursuits, and hopefully our goals. I think I touched on that anyway. And so I just want to keep going with that theme, being relentless. And there's been several times where I've just needed a place to go, but I don't want to stop creating. And as we know, this winter something happened, and I was I was put in a hidey hole just to get through another day. I had to find a way of keep creating, and not just laying down and getting lost in Netflix. So I came in what is my drawing room. You can see I've got a drawing table. I also store my paintings in here. You'll see the canvases turned away behind me so I'm not distracted and thinking about the god-awful things I've done to that canvas and what I have to fix. They go in here, they're turned away, and then I'm not obsessing over them. But I came in here, I made this into my little drawing room. I picked up a table at a, nutcracker. I picked up a table at a yard sale. It's the exact drawing table I wanted for this room for about 20 bucks. And I was able to just kind of get lost. And I got lost in where's that book? Oh crap, excuse me for a second. I got lost in redeveloping a book I've been working on for a million years, or 13, I'm not sure which. But I've done this book over and over and over again. It's from a series I call Stories from Scootertown. I did this forever and a day ago, and there's been several different reiterations of it. I actually found a copy of this in a used bookstore, which I thought was kind of funky and cool. But when I originally did it, I developed my storyline, I developed the characters, I developed their town, Scootertown, where they live. I developed houses for them, childhoods, backgrounds, so we'd know who was loved, how they were loved as children and babies, how they were brought up in loving homes, if they were brought up in somewhat abusive homes. I have storylines on all the characters, and now I had 6, but now I'm up to 7 characters. I just added a mouse. All right, where'd he go? I just added a mouse, and he's called he's named after my grandson, so he's Maxie Mouse. But he's going to be, I'm going to start working him into all my little storylines for a couple of reasons, and I'll talk about it maybe another day, but it has to do with Ganesh. It's another Ganesh-y thing. Anyway, my primary characters were a little boy named Jimmy, named after my son. My son is actually James, but we were calling him Jimmy. A little bird named Dixie, who's named after a man who lived in Provincetown, Massachusetts, whom I adored. Then we've got, I ended up calling the turtle Devon, but it's a French spelling, named after a friend of mine who was very giving and very loving and pretty zen-ish about stuff, I think. And a little squirrel named Joel, and of course Bugsy, my dog. And then we're adding Maxie Mouse. Now when I first did it though, pull it out again. All the illustrations were flat. They were all done on one drawing surface. I think I added wood cuts at one point in time, but that's about as involved as I got. I did the illustrations over and over and over and over again, but wasn't really happy, especially with scenes like pages like this. First of all, I've changed Jimmy to a more of a racially diverse character than the little white Jimmy, who was very, very white, and I was frustrated with. Now he's more racially diverse. He can cover a number of different ethnicities, so he translates better. And he's more, he would feel more like different children than this little white kid. So white children are boring to me, and so we have to, I want to find ways of reaching more people and having children see themselves in my illustrations, as opposed to, seeing someone they are not. Anyway, whatever. I have a better way of articulating it. It's just not going to come out today. Anyway, this particular page really bothered me. It's introducing Jimmy, it's introducing Devin, it's introducing them playing together, which brings them into another scene where this bunny rabbit, who's been abused his whole life, his whole childhood, comes along and picks a fight with Jimmy when Devin is off in the woods looking for the ball they were playing with. But it's fallen flat. It just doesn't feel like it has any depth to it. There are pictures there, they explain the storyline, but it's been deeply frustrating to me that there wasn't more depth. So this winter, things were going on here at the house, and I needed a hidey hole to go to and still create. And I was not comfortable in my painting studio. I came in my little room. It really is just a tiny bedroom. But I turned it into a Scootertown room, my illustration room. And while I was in here, I was redoing the illustrations again, redoing the storylines again. And one day I was in here and I just thought, I'm going to cut this out and see how this feels. And so I started cutting out little images like Jack and placing him on top of backgrounds. I built several houses with a three-dimensional feel. If they had 3 floors, say, I would show the outside of the house, then the first floor, then the second floor, third floor. I would show how the animal got into the house. I started doing illustrations of their bathhouse, where they shower or take a bath, for a book, for another book in the series I'm working on. But I started putting illustration on top of illustration on top of illustration. And as you can see, I'm not a big fan of color. I want this to be more of an as they say, an interactive project. And so I want to leave it black and white. Use my line work to provide the depth, and let the child or whomever is coloring it to put themselves into the storyline further. But in this, in all this, oh my gosh, being relentless about creating work, I created a whole new way for me to illustrate. It photographs well. When it photographs, it just has so much more depth than it did before with just the flat illustrated page. So I'm going to show you one of the first illustrations I did using this three-dimensional idea. So that's Scooter the grandpa, that is Honey Bear, his grandson, and then there's Bugsy. I have my finger on Bugsy. They're sitting in a chair. There's a footstool and a rug. And I'm making this so children can cut it out and then put in little pieces of paper. It's a whole project. I'm putting together these little projects so that children can build their own layers using simple things, simple tools, and inexpensive way to build a project. Using tools from a dollar store, Dollar General, whatever dollar store there is, so that more children can use it. And instead of, you have to buy this 3M sticker, it's roll up a piece of paper, glue it together, there you go. Little project, and it is 3D. Wow, what's on there? Okay, I goobered that up. I don't even know what I got on there. It looks like chocolate, but I don't eat chocolate very often, and certainly not in this room. Anyway, I started redesigning all... I don't even know what that is. There's something on my window. Anyway, I started redeveloping, redesigning, and flipping out the places that the characters live in. And this is one. This is where Devin lives, or Devin grew up, with his mom in a I got a bush falling off now. A teapot, a house built out of teapot and teacups. The teacups are back here. They're extended rooms, but I have whole floor plans for every house that everyone lives in, including Jack. That's the top hat he grew up in. So I have floor plans for 6 and soon 7 different houses. They're all three-dimensional. They're all drawn out now in several different ways. So to help formulate my stories. But I decided to tackle, amongst many things, I decided to tackle the idea of when I'm working on a storyline and I get to a character, just drawing and redrawing the character over and over again in different positions in different scenarios, so that it has more of a flowing feel. No matter what story we go into, the character feels natural. Instead of taking storyline, run rabbit run, the story, this is the story, these are the characters, and doing the illustration specifically for that story, I wanted to have continuity from book to book. So this is what I've been working on all winter, is doing this. I've got little bushes for my story everywhere. Bushes and flower pots. Ooh, my God, I'm so complicated. Anyway, that's what I've been working on, are building these three-dimensional projects or three-dimensional pages and books and making them so I can print them out for children or whomever, librarians, whomever, and provide a project where the children can cut them out. They're easy to cut out, so children with ADD don't have to get into cutting out tiny little pieces of things, tiny little leaves, tiny little pieces. It's cut, glue, 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 color, 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 and build the picture that they want in their way. Right down to the bushes. These are bushes that belong to Devon's house. They fit into the background or wherever the project doer decides they should be. Okay, where was I going? I don't remember. This one I really love. This particular illustration I really love, because along the ideas of that flat page, the pages that were corresponding with it, Jimmy, you're falling off. They fell flat. So I was developing a fight scene, but the fight scene was coming out flat, and it just felt like an excuse instead of a story. So Jimmy's just going to keep falling off. Anyway, that's Jack kicking Jimmy into the bushes. Oh, another flower pot. Now, as I've been illustrating, I've been putting everything into folders, because as I said, I'm doing multiples. So I did multiple bushes for each page to be used over and over again, similar to a Bugs Bunny cartoon was my thinking, where there were layers and layers and layers. That's what I was doing here. So I've got bushes and leaves, and they can be photographed and then photoshopped back together into a book with the little characters on top, rather, and the storylines on top, the stories on top, page by page, section by section, everybody placed on top, built up, and then photographed and then photoshopped together. And I've used up a bunch of these little folders that I got. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling again. I used up a bunch of folders that I got. Notebook folders. They're full over here. I've got more in a closet over there. But I didn't have anything for the tiny bits, like the little leaves, that again, I'm not trying to make too detailed, so that children with ADD or physical problems won't have a hard time cutting them out and gluing them on. These are little, but they're basic shapes. There's the back, there's the front. You don't need fancy scissors, you won't need super sharp scissors, you just need a pair of scissors from the dollar store. But I've been putting all my little illustrations in a container I found at Michael's. Oh, here's Jimmy. So that they don't end up on the floor or in piles. And I can use them over and over again. I love these. I just love these. There's Jimmy looking at Honey Bear, his teddy bear, and dreaming up a storyline. And that's the thing, is Jimmy makes up the storyline, much like, so the viewer sees themselves in a character. They're Jimmy, and they're following the storyline. And the intention is for children to see Jimmy building up a fantasy, building up a storyline, and then they'll start doing their own instead of watching the friggin' iPad or iPhone. I hate it when I see kids riding around and they're staring at those little screens and their parents are off in La La Land. I absolutely hate it. I would love to be part of a movement where children are learning to focus and learning to build their own world and not needing to be entertained by anyone or anything technological, at least for a while every day. So there's Jimmy. After he's been kicked, he's falling. There's Jimmy laying on the ground, and that goes in front of the bushes I just showed you. There's Jimmy reading. So as you can see, it is what I said, taking one character and running with it for a while. There's Jimmy dreaming up a story between Dixie and Jack with his little bunny. There he is dreaming up a story with just Jack. Oh, look, he's reading again, because that's what children should be doing. That's what people should be doing. I've got Jack in another folder. Oh, I have little scenarios giving background information on the characters. There's Joel. And this can all be found on my Instagram page. But there's Joel with a newspaper article on his parents. It says squirrel couple in accident. So that we have a hint of what may have happened to Joel's parents. And there's a tiny picture of them holding him as a baby and loving him. Oh, another Jack. There's Jack. But it's Jack in front of pictures of, come on, his home. That's what hangs up in Bugs. Yeah, Jack's house is pictures of Jack's house, because Jack's family home, because that's what we do. I've got pictures of little Bugsy with his parents. And again, all of this can be seen on Instagram. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. But there is a lot of stuff I've been creating in my little hidey hole of a drawing room. And I kind of wanted to share. It's not me painting or not painting. I am always doing something. I am always creating something. I am always relentless about my work. And I hope you are as well. And I hope I inspire that in people. I heard from a number of people after the last video who had some very complimentary things to say again. One of my favorites is from an illustrator I know, or I know through Facebook, who I just admire to no end. And he is taken the artwork that he's been doing and has fed his family for a really long time and taking it in a new direction. And it's because he is relentless. He is relentless. And, okay, not so humble here. I kind of inspired him to do what he wants instead of do what he has to, or do what he feels compelled to do as opposed to only doing what he has to do and what he knows. That wasn't very humble, but I said it anyway, and I'm super proud because I really admire this guy and I respect him, so I'm glad I could have some influence. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and go out in the painting studio, and I'll be doing a studio mate in another state in the next video in a little while. Still can't do live feeds, but we can tape them and show them, and there we are. That's my drawing room, my storage room, and this is my little hidey hole down in Sarasota. All right? See you soon. Take care. Bye. Ciao.